Welcome to The Real Debrief, the show where we dive deep into the world of film production, exploring the genres you love, the projects making waves, and the trends shaping the industry. We're here to give you a 360-degree review for entertainment professionals. So grab your popcorn and get ready for some expert insights. And, well, the occasional bed joke from Talen. It's The Real Debrief. Now your hosts, Talen and Lisa.
Welcome. You're back with us for another fabulous episode. I'm Talen, and as usual, I'm here with Lisa, who I'm pretty sure is already body swapped with a genius. 'Cause her insights? Chef's kiss.
Oh, stop. But if I did swap bodies with someone, I hope it's Beyonce. At least then I'd have an excuse for not being able to sing in my real life.
I mean, you've got the moves, so you're halfway there. Anyway, today we're diving deep into the hilarious, chaotic world of body swap movies. You know the ones, when people end up in the wrong bodies and everything goes nuts. And today we're particularly talking about It's What's Inside. It tried. It really did.
Yeah, tried is the key word here. We've seen body swap films work wonders. They teach empathy, give us all that feel-good, walk in someone else's shoes vibe, while making us laugh our heads off. But It's What's Inside? Let's just say we got lost somewhere between the swap and the actual fun. Like when you're looking for your Uber, and it's somehow driving away while you're waving it down.
Yes! It's What's Inside had all the ingredients. A group of friends, a mysterious device, a weirdly ominous college party vibe, but somehow it cooked up a dish that tastes like cardboard. There was no spice, Lisa. It was like someone left the script out in the sun too long, and it just dried out.
Exactly. For a body swap movie, it missed the one thing that makes body swap movies worth watching. The pure, unadulterated joy of seeing people we know act completely out of character. I mean, come on, the bar isn't that high for this genre. Just give us the laughs and a little confusion and we're sold.
I know, right? And when you look at successful body swap movies, Freaky Friday, 13 Going on 30, Big, it's like we're laughing because we know these characters well enough that when they start acting like someone else, it's funny. But here, these characters were as flat as my grandma's pancakes. And not in the delicious, nostalgic way.
Right? And don't even get me started on the influencer character. She was supposed to be the quirky, Insta-famous blonde who's always on her phone, and look, we've all seen influencers on screen, but this one felt like the director Googled, "What does a millennial influencer look like?" and just threw a bunch of stereotypes at her. She was less like an actual person and more like a cardboard cutout of someone who's on TikTok 24/7.
No, totally. And speaking of cardboard, what was with that stoner guy? Every time he came on screen, I felt like I was watching someone do a terrible impression of a person who once smoked weed at a festival. I mean, he was like a bad meme that never took off. I was sitting there like, oh, honey, no.
Exactly. And the whole point of a body swap movie is that when people switch places, we're supposed to laugh at them struggling in their new bodies. It's comedy gold when someone who's uptight suddenly has to live like a stoner, or when a party guy suddenly has to be a responsible adult. But here, it's like the filmmakers forgot to have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like if you took Jumanji, but instead of Dwayne Johnson trying to figure out how to be a teen nerd trapped in a beefcake's body, he just napped. Like, all the promise is there, and then boom! Boring.
You know what? I was waiting for that one guy, the ex-friend who shows up with the creepy box that causes the body swap, to be the chaotic fun character. Like, okay, this guy is going to shake things up. But no, he shows up with his weird backstory in the box and then nothing. It's like he just fades into the background of his own chaotic plan.
I was thinking the same thing. He's supposed to be the wild card. The spark that lights the fire, but instead he's like the guy who brings fireworks to the party, but then just stands in the corner eating chips. Dude, you had one job.
And the box. Don't even get me started on that device. It's the most anticlimactic magical object I've seen in ages. Like, there's no buildup, no cool moment where we see it actually start the swap. It's just like, here's the box. I guess it's magic. Let's move on. You've got to give us more drama than that. We want something that looks like it belongs in a cursed shop or that feels like it's ancient and dangerous. Not something you picked up at IKEA.
Right? I mean, at least give us some glowing lights or a dramatic sound effect when the bodies switch. I mean, in Freaky Friday, when Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis switched bodies, they got hit by magical fortune cookies. At least that was fun. Here it's like, oh no, our souls are swapped, I guess. There's no pizzazz.
And the bigger issue? These characters are supposed to be different enough that when they switch, it's noticeable. Like in 13 Going on 30, it's hilarious because suddenly this grown woman is acting like a 13-year-old. We get it. But in It's What's Inside, these characters were all so similar that when they swapped, you couldn't even tell. It's like, wait, who's in whose body now?
Exactly. It's like the filmmakers were like, hey, we've got a cool body swap premise, but then forgot to give each character actual personalities. So when they swap, it's just, it's nothing. There's no juxtaposition. There's no reason for us to care because we don't know who these people are to begin with.
It's like they thought that having one of the characters be an influencer and another be a stoner was enough. But it's not. You can't just give people surface-level quirks and call it character development. You've got to build their personalities so that we can laugh when things get turned upside down.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when the stoner swapped with the influencer, I was sitting there like, okay, this could be funny. What is the influencer going to do in this guy's body? And then, nothing. Like, what was even the point of the swap if you're not going to make it hilarious?
It's frustrating because we've seen how good body swap comedies can be when they're done right. They don't need to be complex or deep, but they do need to be funny. And It's What's Inside just completely missed the mark. The premise had so much potential, but the execution? Total letdown.
Yeah, it's like they had all the right ingredients but forgot to turn the oven on. Or they turned it on too high and everything just burnt to a crisp. Either way, we were left with something that just didn't work.
And don't even get me started on the twists. Like, this is a movie about body swapping, right? There should be crazy hijinks and unexpected twists. But every so-called twist in this film felt like something we saw coming from a mile away. There's no surprise, no shock, just predictability.
Yeah, I kept thinking, surely they're going to throw something wild at us in the final act. But nope. It was like they were ticking off boxes on a list. Body swap? Check. Misunderstanding? Check. Mediocre punchline? Check. Where's the fun in that?
It's like they forgot to bring in the real fun parts of the genre. You need those big moments where the characters totally mess up because they don't know how to function in their new bodies. But this film just plodded along like a horse with nowhere to go.
Oh, and don't even get me started on the filmmaking style. They had this weird flashy editing going on. Freeze frames and fast cuts, like they were trying to distract us from the lack of plot with some fancy visuals. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. It was like watching someone try to make a slow movie go faster with random TikTok cuts.
Oh my God, yes. I was like, is this a bad Instagram reel? It's almost like the filmmakers knew the script was weak, so they tried to dress it up with all this flashy editing. But here's the thing. If the core of your movie is weak, no amount of visual glitter is going to save it. It's like trying to put a sparkler on top of a soggy cake. Sure, it's flashy for a second, but in the end, you're still eating soggy cake.
Yep. Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for creative filmmaking, but here it just felt like overcompensation. It's like they were saying, look, we know our jokes aren't landing, but here's a freeze frame with some neon lighting to distract you. I mean, come on.
It's like the movie was trying too hard to be edgy and cool, but really, all we needed was a little humor and some well-developed characters. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with a body swap movie. You just need to make us laugh. Make us care about the characters and maybe throw in a little heart. This film did none of that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I kept waiting for that aha moment. You know, the one where you realize why the film was made in the first place. Like, what's the point? What's the message? But it never came. The movie felt like a bunch of half-baked ideas that were thrown together without any real cohesion.
Totally. I think part of the problem is that they were trying to do too many things at once. They wanted it to be a body swap comedy, but also a movie about friendship, and also a movie with some kind of deeper meaning about identity. But none of it came together in a satisfying way.
And speaking of identity, they really missed the mark on exploring how a body swap could have been a meaningful tool for character growth. I mean, imagine if they'd actually leaned into the walking in someone else's shoes aspect. What if the influencer learned something about being less shallow, or the stoner learned something about responsibility? I mean, there were so many opportunities for this movie to go somewhere deep, but instead it just stayed in shallow waters.
Yes, a good body swap movie isn't just about the laughs, it's about growth. The character should learn something from being in someone else's body, and that's where the heart comes in. Big worked so well because we saw Tom Hanks' character learn about responsibility and growing up while still retaining his childlike wonder. 13 Going on 30 showed us that you can be successful without losing sight of who you are. But here, it's like the movie forgot that these characters needed to evolve.
That's exactly it, and the lack of growth is probably what made the movie feel so flat. By the time it ended, it was like, wait, did anyone learn anything? Did we as an audience learn anything? And the answer is nope. It was just there.
It's like going on a road trip and ending up right back where you started, but not in the fun, nostalgic way, more like, oh, I guess I'll never get those 2 hours back. And don't even get me started on the big reveal near the end where they tried to throw in a last-minute twist. It was like they realized they needed some kind of dramatic finish, but forgot to actually set it up.
Right? It was like someone in the writer's room said, hey, we need a big twist at the end. And everyone was like, sure, but let's not put too much effort into it. We'll just make it kinda happen.
And it's such a shame because body swap movies have so much potential to do fun, crazy things. Think about Jumanji. Those movies nailed it because they leaned into the chaos of being in someone else's body. You had Jack Black acting like a teenage girl, and it was hilarious because we understood the characters before the swap happened. Here, the characters were so underdeveloped that their body swaps felt meaningless.
Yes, you've got to build that foundation first. The fun in body swap movies comes from knowing who these people are and watching them struggle when they're suddenly thrown into someone else's life. But we don't know who they are to begin with. There's no payoff. We're not laughing because we don't even know what's supposed to be funny.
Exactly. It's like, imagine you're at a party and two people you've never met start swapping stories about their lives. You're not going to find it funny or interesting because you don't know them. You need context to care, and this movie gave us none of that.
Right. And look, I'm not asking for Oscar-worthy character development here, but at least give us something. Give us a reason to root for these people, or at the very least a reason to laugh at their ridiculous situations.
And speaking of ridiculous situations, can we talk about the wedding subplot? It was like they tried to throw in some high-stakes drama by setting the whole thing the night before a wedding, but just fell flat. There was no tension, no sense of urgency. They could have easily made the whole wedding thing a ticking time bomb of chaos, but instead it was just there.
Oh yeah, totally. A wedding is like the perfect backdrop for a body swap comedy because weddings are already chaotic enough. But here it felt like an afterthought, like, oh yeah, there's a wedding tomorrow. I guess we should mention that every once in a while.
Right? There was no buildup, no sense of impending disaster. It's like they forgot that weddings are supposed to be stressful. Where's the runaway bride? Where's the person who's freaking out about their vows? Where's the drunk uncle causing a scene? None of that happened. And I was like, what are we even doing here?
I know. It's like they had all the pieces to make a wild, fun, body swap movie, but they just didn't put them together. Instead of giving us a crazy wedding night filled with body swapping madness, we got a weirdly calm and boring night with some awkward conversation and zero stakes.
And that's the thing. There were no stakes. I never felt like anything was really on the line. And in a movie like this, you need that tension. You need to feel like the characters have something to lose if they don't figure out how to swap back or fix whatever mess they're in. But here, it's like, oh well, guess we'll just swap bodies and go to bed. No big deal.
Exactly. Where's the sense of urgency? Where's the chaos? If you're gonna swap bodies the night before a wedding, you'd better give us some high-stakes insanity. I want to see someone walk down the aisle in the wrong body or give a terrible speech because they don't know how to act like the person they're swapped with. Instead, we got nothing.
It's such a wasted opportunity. A body swap comedy the night before a wedding practically writes itself. But instead of leaning into the madness, they played it way too safe. And that's the real tragedy of this movie. It could have been so much more.
Totally. And I'm not one to completely trash a movie, but when it's this frustrating, it's hard not to. I want to love this movie. I went in ready for some laughs, ready for some chaos, but instead, I left feeling like I'd been promised a roller coaster and ended up on a slow Ferris wheel ride with no view.
Exactly. And look, there are plenty of bad movies out there, but at least some of them are fun to watch because they're bad in a way that's entertaining. It's What's Inside wasn't even that. It wasn't so bad it's good, it was just bad. Boring bad.
Yeah, and that's the worst kind of bad. At least if it were like a train wreck, we could laugh about it and be like, well, that was a mess. But here it's like, well, that was forgettable.
And that's the real issue. A body swap movie should never be forgettable. It should be fun, chaotic, and full of heart. But this movie, it's already slipping from my memory as we speak.
Same. So, on a scale of Freaky Friday to 13 going on 30, where are we placing this one, Lisa?
Honestly, I'd place this one somewhere in the biggest missed opportunity category. It had the potential to be so much fun, but it just didn't deliver.
Agreed. It's definitely down there on the disappointment scale. But hey, at least we can always watch Freaky Friday or 13 going on 30 to cleanse our palates, right?
Exactly. There's always a silver lining. And with that, I think we can safely say we've dissected It's What's Inside as much as possible.
Indeed. All right, thanks for sticking with us through this one, folks. We hope you enjoyed our rant as much as we enjoyed venting about it. We promise next time we'll have something a bit more, well, something that gives us more to cheer for.
Definitely. And hey, if you've seen It's What's Inside and somehow loved it, or maybe just have a different take, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You might have caught something we missed. Or maybe you also spent 2 hours waiting for something to happen. Either way, let us know.
For sure. Maybe there's a hidden meaning that totally flew over our heads. I doubt it, but you never know. So, what's on the docket for our next episode, Lisa?
Oh, we're diving into a much more successful comedy next time. We're talking Hot Tub Time Machine, time travel, buddy comedy, and 80s references. Now that is a wild ride done right.
Oh, I cannot wait for that one. I'm already reliving the glory days of my first viewing. If there's one thing that'll help cleanse the It's What's Inside hangover, it's definitely Hot Tub Time Machine.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. Maybe people who need to avoid certain movies before they waste their time.
Exactly. We're basically doing public service at this point, saving people from bad cinema one episode at a time. Until next time, folks, stay swapped, but only if it's funny.
Yeah, stay swapped and keep laughing. Bye, everyone.
This has been The Real Debrief. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, like, rate, and review. We'll see you soon on The Real Debrief.